Good afternoon to all of you. Once again, I welcome in today's lecture. In the last lecture, we was already started the module 5. So as far as concerned with the module 5, we have started one of the important articles, that is road construction aspect. So I will share with all of you the today's presentation. So this is the, you can say, the syllabus of module 5, and we have started the first article, that is the road construction aspect. So already I have mentioned that the highway or the roadway is the system, okay, which is constructed above the ground level for the purpose of the vehicle transportations. So as far as concerned with the transportation system, a good highway, or you can say any types of the national highway or state highway, major district road, other district road, or village road. So the transportation system should have a good, you can say, the flexibility as far as concerned with the traffic point of view. There should not be the so much, you can say, the obstacle for the traffic. Then there should not be the high accident rate on a particular road alignment or the road. So as far as concerned with this transportation system, we should follow all the requirements for this transportation system. So there should be a sufficient signals, there should be a sufficient crossing point, and there should be a sufficient width of the road systems. Then also we have seen that the fixed facility, this is one of the important aspect we have discussed in the morning lecture. So as far as concerned with the fixed facilities, so then the another important the aspect of the road constructions is the flow entities. So then also we have discussed control systems. So in case of the road system, with the help of the signals, then marking, and the signing, and the underlying rules of the, which is fixed by the National Highway Authority of India, we should follow all the rules and regulations. And then the another important, you can say, the aspect we have discussed in the morning lecture, that is the mobility and the accessibility. So your road network should be accessible from all the, you can say, the source, that is the road network should be easily accessible from a city area or the market area or any types of the commercial area or industrial area. So the mobility and accessibility is feasible for all users. Okay, user may be the urbanizations, or you can say the people which is living in the urban area, which is easily accessible. Then some of the industry also accessible. So such kind of the aspect we should consider while aligning the road alignment. Then the also we was in that the major transportation systems. So we have highway, railway, airway, waterway, pipeline, and the conveyors. So these are the 6 major transportation systems. So as far as concerned with the highway and railway, or which transportation system we can use, the uses of the transportation system generally depends upon 2 to 3 parameters, or 2 to 3 aspects, such as the traveling time and the cost or the economy. Okay. So if you want to reach from one point from origin to the destination, for example, if you want to travel within a very less time, then one should go for the airways, okay, but we require more money as compared to the highway or railway. So then waterway, transportation through the ship, okay. So in case of the harbors and docks, so where the ship can stand as a railway stations or the bus stand, we constructed for the purpose of the station for railway and bus stand for the stopping of buses. So in such a fashion we have the docks and harbors where all the goods and there will be a station for ship, okay. So in case of the waterway, if you want to transport certain goods from one nation to another nations, import and export from one nation to another nations, such kind of goods, okay. So we have to prefer the waterways. So depending upon our requirement, one should go for highway, railway, airway, waterway, pipeline. So pipeline is also a major transportation system for water supply, okay. And the uh, conveyors means the tunnel will be there, okay. So tunnel is a passage for transportation through the you can say the hilly area where we can construct the tunnel for the purpose of the transportation of vehicles or any types of the system. So the next important aspect regarding about the road network construction is that the planning. So planning is one of the important phase we have discussed in the morning lectures. Then these are the process in case of the planning phase of any you can say the road network. So first we should understand the situation where generally we require the road network, and then we should understand the problems, okay. So what type of the problem will be there? So problem is related with the land acquisition, or the problem is related with the alignment, okay. So on which point the alignment should pass or which point the alignment should not pass. So the problem, once you define, then we need to search for the solution depending upon problems on the field, and then one should go for the analysis of performance and then evaluation of the alternative. So certain alternative planning should be there as far as concerned with the total construction point of view, the total construction cost point of view. We should have a alternative, and then choice of the project will be there, and then design and construct. So these are the processes we should follow in case of the road network, and then with other stakeholders what we need to do. Then what we need to do, take the feedback, okay, from the all the stakeholders may be the government authority, the stakeholders may be the local agencies, okay. So from that we have to take the feedback, and then if you satisfy your feedback for all these planning processes, then uh, it is very you can say the feedback system is very essential for the planning processes. Then also we have seen that in the morning lecture, that is the classifications of highway systems. Basically, we have three major primary systems and secondary systems and the tertiary systems regarding about the classifications of the highway. So as far as concerned with the primary system, we have the expressway, then national highway with the multiple lane systems. Then we have the secondary highway, that is the state highway, major district road, and tertiary system which include the other district road and the village road. So as far as concerned with the classifications, so these are the systems of the road we should understand first. Then as far as concerned with the expressway, okay. So expressway is divided you can say for the purpose of the highway facility having two or more lanes in its directions for the exclusive use of traffic with full control of access and egress in the highway hierarchy expressway is only the facility that provide complete uninterrupted flow. Okay, so such kind of you can say the facility will be there in case of the expressway. So also we should understand an expressway is a composed of three components. So basic freeway segment will be there, then waving areas and ramp junctions. So basically in case of the expressway we have three sub components, and then we also discuss regarding about the Mumbai Pune expressway. So in front of the Mumbai Pune expressway, these are the various major construction will be there in front of the alignment. There will be a 26 underpasses, 21 overpasses will be there. Then 6 major bridges and viaduct, that is the culvert, and 21 minor bridges which is constructed across the Mumbai Pune expressway. Then 81 box or the slab culvert. Then 2 railway overbridge we have constructed in case of the Mumbai Pune express. Interchanges will be there. So such kind of the constructions we should follow in case of any types of the expressway. So these are the components of the you can say the any types of the expressway. Then multi-lane highway. Basically, in case of the multi-lane highway, a highway with at least two lanes for the exclusive use of traffic in each direction, with no control or partially control of access, but that may have periodic interruptions to flow at signalized intersections no closer than 3 kilometers. So in case of the multi-lane highways, at least two lanes should be there. Okay, and the intersections no closer than 3 kilometers. So at the junctions we should follow the signalized systems, we should follow the intersection systems, and this is closer than 3 kilometers. Then as far as concerned with the NHDP, okay, National Highway Development Project, that is NADP. So if you see here, as far as concerned with the Indian continent point of view, so the golden quadrilateral, if you see, which is shown by the red color, okay. So the how the development is going on. Then we have the north-south corridor. We called it as a north-south corridor. So from the Srinagar, then Jammu, then Jalandhar, then Agra, okay, then Nagpur, and then this connectivities goes through the Hyderabad. Then the destination point is Kanyakumari. So this is known as the south north south corridor, which is having 4076 kilometer. Then Golden Quadrilateral, if you see here, this is known as the Golden Quadrilateral. So this is generally occupy this Golden Quadrilateral is generally originate from the Delhi, then Gurgaon, then it come to the Maharashtra state, and then Mumbai. Then you can see here. Then again it occupy the Chennai also, some part of the Chennai, and then Kolkata, and then back to the Delhi. So this is known as the Golden Quadrilateral. So total length of this particular the national highway is 5,846 kilometer, and then we have the east-west corridor. So this is known as the east-west corridor. The length of the east-west corridor is generally 3,640 kilometers, and which run through the Porbandar. The origin is the Porbandar, and the destination is the Silchar. Okay, so this is gone through various, you can say, the state, and then destination is Silchar. So the total distance is 3,640 kilometer. So as far as concerned with the National Highway Development Project, that is the NHDP, is aimed at converting the national highway connecting the 4 metros and the north-south and the east-west corridor into a multi-lane highway network. So a such huge construction is done with the help of NADP. So as far as concerned with the multi-lane highway in a rural environment also is going on. So in case of the hilly area, so the multi-lane highways gone through the hilly areas also. Then see here of the urban environment. This is the picture. You can see the multi-lane highway in a suburban environment. Then mobility and accessibility. If you see in this particular graph, we have the classifications of the road network. On the x-axis, we have the access, and on the y-axis, we have the mobility. So as far as concerned with the, see here, as far as concerned with the expressway, from every, you can say, the city or any type of the village area or any type of the industry is easily accessible to the expressway. So such kind of, you can say, the planning will be there. So the expressway is easily accessible from almost all the, you can say, the areas. Then multi-lane highway is the second number, which is easily accessible. Then we have the state highway, then major district road, other district road, and the village road. So the connectivity for the expressway is major as compared to the almost all highways. But in case of the village road is connected with the village to village, okay, and the other district road is connected between the villages and the taluka places, and even which is connected to the major district roads. So this is the graph will shows how the mobility and accessibility will be there. Then we should also understand the classifications of the urban street. So in case of the urban area, we have classified as a urban expressway, then artificial street, sub-arterial street, collector street, and the local street. So as far as concerned with the urban street, we have classified into you can say, the types of the roads network in the urban areas. Then arterials and the sub-arterials roads. So what do you mean by the arterial road? A major surface street with relatively long street between major point and with through trips entering, leaving, and passing through the urban areas. Then we called it as a arterial street. Okay. And in case of the arterial street, a signalized street that primarily serve through the traffic and that secondary provides as access to the important properties with signal spacing of 3 kilometer or less. Then we called it as a sub-arterial street. Then we also should know some of the important aspect regarding about the road constructions, that is the collector and the locals. Okay, collector street and the local street. So as far as concerned with the collector street, a surface street providing land access and the traffic circulation within the residential, commercial, and the industrial areas. The functions of the collector street is to collect traffic from local street and feed into the arterial and sub-arterial street or vice versa. So in case of the collector street, the access is generally provided within the residential, commercial and the industrial areas. Then as far as concerned with the local street, these street provide access to the important properties on the unrestricted parking and the pedestrian movement is allowed on this particular street. So the pedestrian means the man will you can say the walk on that particular street. Such a street is known as the local street. Then as far as concerned with the graphical representation point of view regarding about one of the important aspect, that is the mobility and the accessibility. So as far as concerned with the urban expressway, it is high mobility for the accessibility. Then on the second number, that is the arterials, and then sub-arterials, then collector and the local street. So the majority of the mobility for the access is in case of the urban expressway. So this graph will shows how the mobility and accessibility will be done in case of all types of the urban the street. Then level of services will be there. We have categorized the urban street class 1, class 2, class 3 and class 4. Okay. So a qualitative measure describing operational conditions within a traffic stream based upon the service measure such as speed and travel time, freedom to maneuver, traffic interruptions, comfort and the convenience. So in case of the urban street level of service as per the SCM 2000, look at this particular table. So as far as concerned with the first row in particular table, we have the urban street classes, then range of free flow speed. In case of the first class, 90 to 70 km per hour. Then in case of the second, 70 to 55 km per hour. Then third category, that is the 55 to 50 km per hour, and the urban street class under 4, the range of the free flow is 55 to 40 km per hour. Then typical the free flow speed generally average 80 km per hour for the first class, 65 km per hour for the second class, and 55 km for the third class, and 45 km for the fourth class. Now if you see here, this is the average, you can say the travel speed for the A, B, C, D, E, F means here we have the urban expressway, then arterial, then sub-arterial street, then collector and the locals. So A for urban expressway, B stand for the arterials, then C for the sub-arterial, and then collector, and then the locals. Okay. So these are the limitations of the you can say the free flow speed in kilometer per hour. So in case of the urban expressway, the limitations of the speed is greater in case of the class 1 as far as concerned with the class 1, and as far as concerned with the class 2, the speed is greater than 59 km per hour for the urban expressway, and these are the limitations of the speed. Okay. So from this table we can have a, while designing of the this type of the collection and the urban road network for areas, and the design speed. Okay. So design speed is correlated with the thickness of the street, or you can say the road network, which is going to be designed in case of the urban areas. So these are the speed limitations we should follow while designing of the road network in the urban areas. So we have to classify the urban street A, B, C, D, E, F, and these are the classes, and these are the speed we should follow while designing the urban areas. Then if you see here, we have the typical cross sections of the highway. This is also one of the important, you can say, the aspect of the road network constructions. So first we have the fill. So generally, for this particular depth or the particular thickness, we have to construct into number of layers. Then we have the subgrade, then drainage layer, that is known as GSB, and then granular base course, then bituminous binder course and bituminous surface course, that is known as the wearing surface. So this is the top surface which we called it as a wearing surface. So depending upon the national highway, state highway, major district road, other district road, or the village road, the thickness and the camber and all the geometry of the highway element is you can say the changes according to the classifications of the road network. So which type of the material is generally used for the compactions of the subgrade? Which type of material generally used to fill the drainage layer or sub base course or base course or the wearing course? Okay. So then another important aspect we should consider in case of the our construction technique point of view, that is the highway geometric design. Okay. So the highway design is consists of the geometric design, then design of the fill or cut sections, then we have the pavement design, flexible pavement design or rigid pavement design, and then we should also understand the drainage design of the highway. So these are the four aspects we should consider in case of the any type of the constructions of the road network. Okay. So as far as concerned with the these four element, these are very you can say the wide area, but in case of our subject only the aspect will be there, not in deep, but we should understand various aspect, whatever may be the this slide I am going to cover. This is very important as far as concerned with the first article of our subject. So this is not in a deep. Geometric design is very wide area. You will cover in the infrastructure engineering. Okay, but as far as concerned with the depth, our subject depth of point of view, you should understand what are the various aspects we should consider in case of the road network. Okay, so geometric design, in case of the infrastructure engineering, you will see how the geometric design will be there, how the thickness design will be there. Okay, all the parameter you will see in the infrastructure engineering. But in this our subject, we will highlight whatever may be the aspect for the design consideration point of view. So these are the four the highway design aspect: geometric design, design of fill or cut section, then pavement design, and the drainage design. Then, as far as concerned with the geometric design, in case of the geometric design, we need to do, what we need to do, design of vertical and horizontal alignment of the highway. Okay. So how the design of vertical and horizontal alignment will be done, you will see all the details in the infrastructure engineering. Then the preparation of plan, show the horizontal alignment, straight section, horizontal curve, width of carriageway, shoulder, side drain, right of way. Then preparation of profile, we show the vertical alignment, grade line, vertical curve, high flood level. Then cross section, the cross section shows the camber, side slope, area of fill cut, etc. So these are the consideration we should follow in case of the geometric design of the highway. Okay. So as far as concerned with the geometric design, these are the element we should you can say look into detail. Then this is a cross section. Okay, this is the alignment. We need to do the survey. We need to mark the positions on the ground network or the ground level, and then we need to draw the cut and fill, and then we need to draw the layer by layer, that is the subgrade, base course, and the wearing surface. So whatever may be the sheet we have developed in case of the, or we have constructed in case of the survey, you can say the highway design and cross section in case of the surveying, same method is there for the preparations of the, you can say, the cross section of the highway. Then look at this, we also see in case of, or we also draw such type of the cross section. We have the road level, these are the, you can say, the depth, okay, and this is the carriageway, this is the camber we have kept for drainage of the rainwater from the entire area. So this is known as the carriageway. Carriageway means on which the vehicle may run, okay. So such type of the cross section we should understand, we should develop, we should follow the. Then the another important, you can say, the aspect we should understand, that is the pavement design. So pavement design means fixing the thickness of the each layer of the pavement. So we have the soil subgrade, base course, and the bearing surfaces. So for each layer we should design the thicknesses, that is known as the pavement design, okay. So in case of the flexible pavement is made up of with the bituminous, okay. So we have the natural subgrade, then we have the compacted subgrade, then granular subbase, then unbound base, and then this is known as the interface treatment, that is asphalt binder course and the asphalt surface course. So the combination of various layers, each layer is having its own materials. So boulder, then murum filling, then in case of subbase course, the aggregate, and then we have to compact the aggregate, and then we also need to fill the binder materials, okay, such as the asphalt binder course, and then on the top surface asphalt surface course will be there, and then above there is a wearing surface, that is the transportation surfaces, that is known as the wearing surface. So design means the fixing of the thickness for each layers, okay. So as far as the designing point of view, whatever may be the load and whatever may be the class of road will be there. For example, there will be a national highway. So on my particular national highway, how much load will be coming on this particular national highway at a particular section, we should first calculate the axle load, okay. So depending upon the axle load, depending upon the vehicle running per day, in case of the 24 hours. So if you follow that design philosophy, then once you have the load, then ultimately you can design the thickness of these all the courses for the flexible pavement. Then how the methods of the pavement design will be there. So this is the flow chart we should understand in case of the any types of the pavement design. First we need to assume the pavement configurations, okay. So then after assuming the pavement configurations, that is the loads coming from the vehicles, okay. Once we understood the analysis of the load from the vehicles, so we have to categorize the first we need to understand the types of the road network. Once you understand which type of the road network we are going to construct, that is the national highway or the state highway, major district road or village road, then we need to you can say calculate the load. Once we have the load, then we have to configure each layers, then compute the pavement response using the structural model. We have the structural model. In case of the structural models, okay, we have different types of the model. Analytical model will be there and the experimental model will be there. So we need to input certain values, that is the material property and the axle load which is coming from the vehicles. So these are the two input required in case of the any kinds of the structural model, that is the material properties and the axle load. Once we input this particular two parameters, then we go for the next step, that is the compute allowable number of repetitions of the standard axle using distress models. Okay, so with the help of the distress models, different types of the distress model will be there. Then we should understand the failure criteria and the reliability. Okay, once we understand the failure criteria and the reliability, then go for the next step, that is the find expected number of repetition of standard axle on the design lane from traffic analysis. Then if the analysis is satisfactory, okay, then go for the final design. If the satisfactory will be there from the analysis point of view, then go for the final design, go for the thickness design, thickness of the pavement design. If satisfactory not there in case of the traffic analysis, then go back for the first step. Okay, and then again we need to repeat the entire procedure. So if you satisfy the traffic analysis as per your the Indian Road Congress, okay, IRC, okay, 58, okay. So as per the IRC recommendations, if you follow the design analysis or the traffic analysis, and if it is satisfactory, then go for the final design. Otherwise, you go back for the first step. Again, we need to select the structural model. Then we need to again check the input, these two parameter, material property and the axle load, and then again we need to select the distress model, and then we need to check the failure criteria, and then reliability also we should check, and again we need to do the traffic analysis. And if the traffic analysis is satisfactory, then go for the final design. Otherwise, again go for the trial. Okay, so this is the you can say the method we should develop for the pavement design aspect point of view. Then the characteristics of the layers. Okay, so using the layer theory of stress, strain and the deflection at any point in any layer can be computed. So these are the you can say the wheel load which is coming on these particular layers, and how all the parameter will changes according to the wheel load, and depending upon this elasticity and the Poisson's ratio of the materials, and the thickness, that is H1, H2, H3, H4 and H5. So how the material property will changes depending upon the wheel load, you should analyze, and that is known as the structural model and distress model. Okay, so this kind of the characteristics of the layer under the wheel load is first analyzed, and then the axle configuration, that is the we have the single axle with single wheel. Okay, so this is a axle for the vehicle, and this is a single axle with single wheel. Okay, then this is a single axle with dual wheel. Okay, so the legal axle load is 10 ton, and for the single axle with single wheel is 16 ton. But in case of the tandem axle, see here, in case of the tandem means we have the double axle here, we have the dual wheel for each axle, that is known as the tandem axle, and the legal axle load is 80 ton. Now this is known as the tandem axle. So there are three axle, each axle having dual, you can say, the wheel. So the legal axle load is 24 ton. So depending upon this axle configuration, we need to do the load calculations. Okay, then the truck configuration will be there. So this is a particular truck, two axle truck. This is one axle and this is the another axle. So for the front axle there is a single wheel, but in case of the single axle there will be the dual wheel, okay, dual tire. Okay, so as far as concerned with the 2 axle truck, we should consider 16-ton load. Then for the 3 axle truck, we should consider the 24-ton the load. Okay, so such load configuration we have to keep into mind while designing the each layer thickness. Then another, that is the 4 axle semi articulated, that is the 34-ton load we should consider. And in case of the 4 axle articulated, we should consider the load, that is the 40-ton. But in case of the 34-ton 4 axle, and in case of the 4 axle articulated, this is semi articulated and this is articulated. So for both the cases we should consider 34-ton axle load. Now in case of the another type of the truck configuration, that is 4 axle truck, we should consider the 40 tons. Okay, so such kind of the axle load we should consider. Then standard axle, single axle with local, you can say with the dual wheels carrying a load of 80 kilonewton, that is 80 ton is defined as the standard axle load. So 80 kilonewton load, which is known as the standard axle load. Then the vehicle damage factor, this is another parameter we should consider as far as concerned with our first article point of view, that is the highway construction aspect or road construction aspect, that is the VDF, that is the vehicle damage factor. Okay, so instead of converting each axle passes into the equivalent standard axle passes, it will be convenient to convert one truck pass into the equivalent standard axle passes. The factor that convert the number of truck into equivalent standard axle repetition is termed as the vehicle damage factor or truck factor. Therefore, vehicle damage factor is the number of standard axle per truck. Okay, so this is one of the important aspect regarding about the road network point of view, that is known as the vehicle damage factor. Then steps in highway planning. So while highway planning, which step you should follow? Situation defining. Okay, then inventory of the existing facilities. We need to do the inventory. Then current condition and issues. Then congestion, very high travel time, very high road user cost, and the identification of other planning studies. Then earlier plans at national, regional and local level to arrive at a solution. So these are the steps we should follow in case of the planning processes. Then problem definition is the first step, that is after understanding the present problem, the problem could be defined as to achieve the reasonable journey with the higher speed, then vehicle operation cost should be minimum, then we should also satisfy the comfort and the convenience for travel between the 4 metros or travel between the origin point to the destination point. So such kind of the problem definition we kept into mind. Then another important is the search for the solutions. So develop alternative concept and the solution to the reasonably satisfy the future needs and the consideration their impact on the environment, safety, economy and feasible resources of the area. And then examination of alternative alignment and the development concept is essential for the proper identifications of the viable alternatives. Then the analysis of the performance. So in case of the analysis of the performance, we need to demand forecasting. So as far as concerned with the demand forecasting, include determination of daily volume of different classes of vehicle. The forecast must also give the traffic volume during the busiest hours of the day, and if the facility is tall, a relation between the volume level and the toll level should be established. And also the analysis of the interaction between the demand and the capacity of the facility. and use performance measure to shortlist the alternatives. Then the steps we should follow in the planning stages, that is the evaluation of alternatives. So the as far as concerned with the economic feasibility, conduct economical evaluation for the short listed alternatives. Then each of the alternative may be compared with the do nothing alternatives, means there should be a number of alternative, then benefit and the cost for all alternative need to be worked out. The benefit cost ratio should be always greater than 1. It should not be less than 1. Okay. So benefit include saving in travel time, reduction in operation cost, reduction in the accident, etc. So cost include capital cost of the construction, maintenance cost, and the environmental cost. In economic internal rate of the return, that is IR, is work out for all the alternatives. The alternative can be ranked based on the economic internal rate of return. That is the IRR is the interest rate at which the net present value of the project is 0. Then the financial feasibility also conducted in the hand of the sponsor. If the project is completely funded by the government, the sponsor is the government, and if the project being implemented under the public private participation, that is the PPP, or purely by the private agency, then the sponsor is the concerned private agencies. A financial internal rate of return is worked out for each alternative by computing the cash flow in the hand of the sponsor. This financial analysis also used to arrive at the best financial strategy for the project. Now, as far as concerned with the environmental impact assessment, so today we will stop here.